Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. Time to close the chapter on the OTAs. You see the thumbnail. OTA 10. We're moving on. Mandatory minicamp is next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. We should get some news, hopefully earlier in the week, regarding, Darren Waller. Is he going to show up for minicamp? Is he not going to show up for minicamp? I think that might be one of the biggest storylines going into minicamp. Well, another one is, will Daniel Jones participate or take the next step into 11 on 11s for this 2-day period? I think he should. We can't wait another month before we see Daniel Jones. Again, once minicamp is over, we're not going to see these guys again until July, until training camp, till they need to report. And I would think that you would go ahead, especially with it being mandatory and everybody should be in the building. We should be able to see Daniel Jones in 11 on 11. But let's talk about this practice today, OTA 10. It wasn't much to talk about. I'll say that much. Again, media not in the building, beat writers not in the building. We didn't get too much news. Instead of giving us a report of practice, well, we did get a report on practice. There were 2 articles today on Giants.com. Again, we're getting all this information from Giants.com. Shout out to those guys. They talked about just things that they saw over the OTAs. The type of coach Shane Bowen is. They said he's not the type to yell. What he'll do is if he sees somebody make a mistake, he'll get to him, after the fact, coach him up one-on-one to the side. He's not yelling and trying to do too much with everybody around. So he's one of those teacher guys. They talked about special teams coach and his style of coaching as well, with all these new rules for special teams and how that looked. So, that was the vibe, on Giants.com. So when they started talking about the practice, I realized that the starters, or the guys on the first and second team mostly, those guys were only participating in individual drills. So any pictures that you saw today that they dropped on Giants.com of the starters, quote unquote starters, first, second team guys, were all individual team position drills and stuff like that. They did have a team portion of practice for 11 on 11, and that was just the reserve players. So as far as the quarterbacks go, the only people getting snaps today in the team activities was Tommy DeVito and then Nathan Rourke. And then, like I said, they had a couple of highlights. So let's get into some of the notes that people were talking about, or that they were talking about. So said DeVito made a couple of good throws today. One to Lawrence Cager, another one to Allen Robinson. I believe both of those catches were 20 yards plus. Shout out to him. Rourke had the big play of the day. It was a reception from Lawrence Cager. A throw to Lawrence Cager. He also targeted Tyrone Tracy a few times and also got Jashaun Corbin involved. Now, when it comes to Jashaun Corbin, again, he is a guy that you're not hearing a lot about. You got your new draft pick in Tyrone Tracy. You got last year's running back draft pick with Eric Gray. These guys are still fighting, for who's going to be that second running back in the rotation behind Devin Singletary. So that's one of those camp battles you're going to be looking at. I remember when I did my early camp battle video, I was talking about even throwing Gary Brightwell in that situation. Well, Gary Brightwell was waived injured, and now we're talking about Devin Singletary penciled in as the number 1 running back, and then you have Eric Gray, Tyrone Tracy, Jashaun Corbin, and then Dante Miller, Turbo Miller, all fighting, for that second and third running back spot. Eric Gray and Tyrone Tracy pretty much for that second running back spot, and then as far as a roster spot, you're looking at Dante Miller on the bubble, and Jashaun Corbin probably on the bubble, depending on how many running backs you keep. If they keep 4, then obviously is Singletary, Gray, Tracy. If they keep 3, if they keep 4, then we're talking about who is it going to be, Corbin, or is it going to be Miller? And for me, I like Jashaun Corbin more than I like Dante Miller, but we'll see what happens. And every time Corbin gets a chance to prove himself, whether it be preseason, training camp, or stuff like that, you always hear good stuff about Corbin, and I wish he can get some more touches. And this preseason, he's probably going to get a lot of touches as well, because they're really trying to figure out what this running back room is going to look like. So on the defensive side today, they didn't mention too much, but one thing that stood out to me, we finally got an Elijah Chapman, the UDFA out of SMU. We finally got, I guess, a little bit of a highlight for him. He was able to get some pressure today, force a couple of quick throws. So that's good. And one thing about Elijah Chapman is the versatility, in which I just newly learned about, is that, yes, he was a defensive tackle. Yes, he's on a lot of lists for the most underrated, defensive tackles, and it's mainly because of his frame. 5'11", about 280 pounds, might just be under 280 pounds, but guess what? The guy benches 500 pounds and he squats over 700 pounds. So he's a monster. But also, what I didn't know that I know now, well, I found out a couple weeks ago, is they also used him as a fullback at SMU. And guess what? The New York Giants don't have a fullback. So who knows what kind of versatility he can bring. Sounds like a fantastic guy to have on special teams as well. Can he hold on in some form of fashion to make the roster, the 53? Maybe, maybe not. But he's one of those guys that I would definitely, if he doesn't make the 53, keep him around on that practice squad, because you never know what he'll do in the actual game. And if you watch his games in college, he is a disruptor. He's never going to lose the leverage game at all. He's already low to the ground, but he's strong as you don't know what, as I don't know what. And that's always good to have. You got leverage, and also you're that strong. He can find his way on this team. He can find his way into a rotation possibly, and earn his way that way. And that's another guy I can't wait to see, because I'm expecting him to have a lot of preseason snaps. And he's going to be one of those guys that I'm going to have on that short list of bubble guys that I'm going to keep my eye out for. But yeah, that's it when it comes to practice. Today, again, OTA 10 wrapped up this portion, or this phase of the off season. Next is mandatory minicamp. We only see 2 more days before we go on break. I don't know if this channel's going on break, but the New York Giants are going on break until July. I'll probably do a couple of videos. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you want to see during this break. Again, we were not going to see these guys until July, until training camp starts. So we're talking 4 weeks possibly. And I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, what you guys want to see, within that time span, on this channel. But that's pretty much it for today. Again, mandatory minicamp is Tuesday and Wednesday. The biggest news story right now in regards to that is what's going to happen with Darren Waller. After that, everything is probably going to be settled down. There's no real news outside of that in regards to the New York Giants, or that involves the New York Giants. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.